Greetings and hello, BUSN 1360 Software Applications for Business. I'm Dr. McGrory, I'm your instructor, and welcome to the PowerPoint Capstone. You've come a long way and you've learned a lot, and now we're here to really just show everything that you know with our PowerPoint Capstone. Now, a word of caution with our capstone, which is there are two parts to this capstone. So you must make a 70% or above on this greater portion of the capstone, and only then will the quiz open up. And here's the thing you have to remember. You have to remember that after you submit the capstone greater, that you're not done. Go back in there and make sure that you take that quiz. That's the easiest thing to forget. So you have to make a 70% or above on the greater portion, which is part 1. And part 2 is the capstone quiz. So don't forget to complete that important second part. Now with that, let's jump in and get started on our PowerPoint capstone. You know, and you're now an expert at saving your files and organizing them. And here in my last folder of our grouping here is the PowerPoint Capstone folder. I'm going to open that, and I see some beautiful pictures with beautiful color that really looks great. I do see more than one PowerPoint. Did you notice that? If you don't immediately see it, you might be distracted by the picture that you see, the thumbnail of this second PowerPoint. So the first one has the last name and color. This contains slides. The instructions refer to it simply as colors or colors. Yeah, color. And this contains some content that we're going to insert into an existing presentation. The PowerPoint slides that you're going to work on have this title, App Capstone. See that in the title? PPT App Capstone. So make sure you don't get confused on these. We do have pictures to insert and even a video. Color Burst is a little video to insert. So this is really going to be a fun presentation. Let's start by opening up the instructions, and we'll start with the project description. You're a student in the marketing program, and you've been asked to create a presentation on the power of color and its impact on marketing. And you've begun the presentation, and now you just need to add some of the final content. You need to snazz it up a little bit. So I think you're going to enjoy this. You know that step 1 of our instructions is always to open the PowerPoint. Again, there are 2 out there. Just make sure you open the one that says App Capstone. You can already see this is a beautiful PowerPoint. Look at the contrasting colors. They're so vivid and just powerful, right? So the first thing that it says to us is that we want to change our theme font. That's going to be step number 2. I'll jump over to it real quickly. It says change the theme font to Trebuchet MS. Now the theme font, of course, affects all the fonts in our presentation. So we're going to go to the Design tab. We're going to go all the way across to the variants area and expand that, because we are going to make a variant. We're going to change the font. In your fonts, each computer can have different fonts and different numbers of fonts, so look through them carefully. Your fonts may be slightly different from mine. They're not in alphabetical order. I know that's terrible. For me, Trebuchet is at the very bottom. It's the last font listed. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to save that change because that was step 2. If we go back to our instructions, and these instructions are going to move pretty quickly, it says that we click on slide 5. So we're actually not affecting slide 5 per se. We're going to click on it as our starting point. And then we're going to use that reuse slides option to insert all the slides from color. Now remember, color actually begins with your last name. So when you downloaded it, it knew that that content comes from a file that is uniquely tagged to you. It does give us a note of caution here. Keep the source formatting on the original slides, and we're going to see why when we look at that. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. I'm going to click on slide 5. If you go to the Home tab, you'll find the big Reuse Slides button. Click on that. And what I want to do is in my Reuse Slides panel, browse, and make sure you navigate to the location where you've saved your files. Find the color PowerPoint. Again, it begins with your last name, and let's open that. Now, when I look at these beautiful slides that are now in my Reuse Slides panel, see how it's really showing off colors? So if I were to import this into my really beautiful starting PowerPoint, it would inherit this black background that actually would probably kind of peek in. And it still might look very nice, but it's not what the instructions asked us to do. We want to keep this source formatting. So this is our source. We want to keep that. Keep this box selected and insert all. What you should see in your thumbnails view is that after slide 5, it inserted all those slides and it kept them in this with that source formatting. So make sure, as you double check, make sure that that looks the way that you anticipated. Save that. Let's go back to the instructions. Step 4. On slide 11, we're going to insert some images. Now they talk about a left content placeholder, a middle content placeholder, and then the right content placeholder, and we're simply inserting the images orange 1, orange 2, orange 3. But don't overlook this step here at the bottom that says to apply drop shadow rectangle. We want to make sure, a lot of these steps have multiple parts. So I've got notes in front of me where I've underlined, and I try to put check marks next to things so that I don't forget. But keep an eye on me, because you folks are smarter than me and you're more detailed a lot of times, and you'll catch these errors. So don't let me miss any steps here. If I do, I always note that in the video. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. They did tell us slide 11. This is the one that says orange at the bottom. And for this left container, we're going to insert a picture. That's among these little icons. It's in the second row. It's the very first one of the second row. Click on that. Now, of course, we have to navigate. Double check. Navigate to your folder. You may not be there. So as long as you're at the folder where you stored your files, I'm going to pick orange 1 and insert. I'm just going to move across to the next middle placeholder. Click the Pictures button, orange 2, and then finally in this right placeholder, orange 3. What a beautiful demonstration of orange. Save that. Now, are we finished? Nope, don't let me forget that we have to apply that drop shadow rectangle picture style. Now, since we have to do it to all 3 of these images, my third image is already selected. I see the sizing handles. I'm going to hold down my Control key. You could hold down your Shift key if you want. And I'm just going to click each one of these images. With them selected, go to your Picture Format ribbon. May already be there. I'm already there. And see these picture styles, and the one that you're looking for has a drop shadow. Is that the one? Drop shadow rectangle. So the 4th one across, but I'm really using the label that tells me that it's the drop shadow rectangle. So I clicked that, I applied that, save. You don't need to keep these selected, so I'm going to click away someplace just so I don't accidentally make any changes. While I'm doing that, I also no longer need the Reuse Slides panel, so I'm going to close that. And I'm going to return to my instructions. On to step 5. On step 5, it says that we're going to go to slide 3 and we're going to insert that video, and we're going to make some changes. This time we're going to apply a beveled rounded rectangle. So different. They're doing a little something different here. Make sure you observe that. This time it's beveled rounded rectangle. And we're going to set the video to start automatically. Now, once we do that, notice that there's another little step here at the bottom. It says move the video to the right. It doesn't even specify how much to the right. It just says to the right, because what they want is they want that video not to overlap with the text. So we're going to have to, just double check that. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. And they did tell us on slide 3. And we already have a placeholder here. And see, here's the text. And do you see that when I click on the text, do you see the sizing handles and how they overlap? It's right on the edge. So I think what the grader would probably dock you on is if this placeholder for the video and this placeholder for the text, if those two things are touching, I think that's probably where you would lose a point. So we'll come back and take care of that in just a moment. Right now I'm going to focus on this placeholder on the right, and I'm going to insert a video, and on my second row it's the third icon. Navigate to wherever your video is. Mine's Remembering PowerPoint 2 folder, so I need to go and go to my Capstone folder. There's my video, insert, and it's so pretty. There it is. So across the top where it says video format, I'm going to look at my video styles, and I'm looking for the beveled rounded rectangle. It's under the moderate category, and if you can see, it does kind of stand up a little bit. That's the beveling, so I'm going to click that. It also wants us to make sure this starts automatically, so I'm going to change to this playback ribbon, and under start, automatically. Now I'm almost done, but not quite. Currently my video is selected, and if I just use my shift key and click the text, can you see how now I can see the borders for both of them, and they are touching, and I don't want that. So I'm going to click into a safe area of my slide, in other words where there's no objects that I may accidentally select. I'm going to just click into an empty area. Now I'm going to click on the border of this video, and I'm just going to slide it just a little bit to the right. That's all. Save that. And if you want to see, because it's always so fun to see these as we go, I'm going to quickly go into the show. Wow, that is some powerful color. I love it. I love it. Let's escape. Trying to escape. So I'm back into my slide deck, and let's go. Did we save that? Let's save that, and let's go back to our instructions. That was step 5. Let me scroll down, and let's tackle the last part of the first page. On step 6, we're on slide 14, and you can see that's really the next 2 steps. We're going to insert a background image. We're going to set that transparency and the offset. And I'm going to double check this. Help me remember to double check this before we submit so that we don't have any problems. Also on slide 14, we're going to apply a fill to the text, it looks like. Boy, this is probably the longest setting name I have ever seen. That's all one setting name. And we're going to apply that to the text questions. Then we have, there are so many parts to these instructions, it's going to be really easy to miss a step. If you do, don't get upset. Just reopen, the grader will tell you, reopen your file, make the corrections, submit it again to increase your score. But what I'm going to try to do as we go is just check these things off in my instructions. So let's go to slide 14 and let's tackle steps 6 and 7 together. Slide 14. So, here's my little kind of boring slide asking, does anybody have any questions? So I'm going to right-click any place on the background of the slide, avoid the text box, format background, picture, insert a picture from a file, navigate to your folder. The choice is color background, insert. Ooh, that's pretty. Of course, we need to make some adjustments. It says set the transparency to 13%. I'm just going to type that in and press enter. And then it says to set the offset left, which is currently at negative 103. I'm going to set that to negative 387. And something that I noticed the grader did in the last, the automatic grader did, is it looked for 0.00. That shouldn't matter, but I'm going to put it in there because that may help the automatic grader. And then I'm going to type percent and hit enter. So negative 387. And it's just got that splash of color where I'm seeing only the blue and the purple, but it looks really pretty. Save that, and we said we were going to continue on to step 7. So on step 7, we're going to select the questions placeholder. Now, see my insertion point flashing in there. I want to make sure I have the placeholder, so I've got my mouse over the edge of the placeholder, and I'm going to click that. So the insertion point is not flashing inside of the text because I'm not editing. And I want to go up to the word art styles, so shape format, word art styles, text color 1, outline black. It's got to be one of these two. Oh, I think it's this one. Okay, so third row down, very first one. Is that right? Fill white, text color 1, outline black, color 1, hard shadow, black, black color 1, word art style. Whew. Click it. Let's click that. Goodness. Make the following changes to the word art. Increase the font size. So I'm going to go back to my home tab and increase the font size to 96. Ooh, all the way at the bottom. That's big. That's okay. That's cool. It looks great. And then look at this. We're going to apply a text effect. Okay, so first of all, let's just go over to shape format. And under shape format, this is where you're going to find text effect. And the effect they want is in the transform category. So down here. And then of the transform menu, they want, it's in the warp category. And let's see if we can find it. Warp is the warp up. Yes, this is it. Warp up. Now, special note to Mac users, it says for Mac users it will be the Wave 2 text effect. So make note of that. But for PC users, it's warp up. Well, that kind of makes it look a little exciting, doesn't it? Then we have one more step, which is to set the horizontal and vertical positions. So I'm still on shape format. Down here, I'm just going to click my launcher. And it took me straight to this size and properties area. I'm going to expand that. And the horizontal position is 5.4. Enter. And the vertical position is 5. Excellent. Save that. And let's go back to our instructions. So that was steps 6 and 7. On to step 8. Now step 8 also has many parts. It says on slide 4, the first thing we're going to do is convert the SmartArt graphic to text. We learned in the last grader we may do that to try to reduce the size of the presentation. Then we're going to make all these changes. We're going to change the font size. We're going to change the bullets to match this. And then we're going to change the width of the content placeholder. So let's jump into PowerPoint and do that. Slide 4. The first thing we're going to do is change this SmartArt. You can tell this just looks so fancy. It's really nice looking. Now when I clicked on this SmartArt, notice that I accidentally selected this first item. I don't want that. I want to make sure I have the entire object selected. So I'm clicking on the edge of the SmartArt. From there, we just go to SmartArt Design, and down towards the very end, that's where we find Convert. And we're going to convert this to text. With it converted to text, now I still have the entire placeholder selected. I am going to change the font size to 32. And I have all these bullets in here. Trying to decide if I should select the text. I think I will. I'm going to go ahead and select the text. And up at the top, I can see I have my bullets and numbering buttons. I'm going to click the drop down. And what I'm looking for is this filled square bullet. So pick that. Now, it's a square bullet, but it's not everything that we need. I'm going to click that again, and I'm going to go to bullets and numbering. Because what this is going to allow me to do is I still have that selected, and now I can customize. The things they want us to customize is the size. They want us to reduce that to 95%. And they want us to change the color to orange accent 2. So we have square bullets at 95% with this orange accent 2. Click OK. See, that gives it a pop of color right there with my bullets. The final thing we need to do is I do need to select my placeholder. Okay, so I have the placeholder selected. And I'm going to click on Shape Format because I need to set the width. Right now it's really large at 11.83. We're going to change that to 7.2. Enter. And what that did, I'll tell you why they are doing this. It pulled it off of the graphic that they have behind this. Because if later I change the slide formatting, the theme, and this text box becomes filled in with a color, it would block. With it stretched completely across, it would cover up the graphic. So by resizing the placeholder, I will avoid any problems where I might cover up my graphic if I were to fill in this content holder. Save that. Go back to the instructions. That was step 8. Let's continue on to step 9. On step 9, we're going to start working with slide 13. What I want you to see is as you look through these instructions, we remain with slide 13 until we get to step 13. So let's just work these steps as a group, step 9, step 10, and 11, and even step 12. So we're going to do these together. As I mentioned in the past, when we get to these capstones, you're much more familiar and practiced with this, so I am going to move just a little more quickly. And in this last assignment for our term, for our semester, I think it's appropriate, and I know you are capable. So just hang with me. We're going to go through it together, starting with instruction number 9, going through instruction 12. Back to our PowerPoint, and we said we were dealing with slide 13. So here are some company color examples, and what they want us to do is just insert an oval. That's the first part of the instruction. They don't even tell us where to place it because we're going to take care of that in a minute. So under Insert, Shapes, I'm going to find the oval. Now, that's in my recently used list, and it should be in your recently used list too, just because these are common shapes. I have not recently used all of these. If not, look in your basic shapes. I'm going to click on that. Now I have my drawing tool, which is this crosshair, and I could drag in a diagonal motion, but if I just simply click, it's going to create, in essence, a circle, because a circle is a very special oval. And we're going to update this, so I'm not real worried about location or the exact size. So for right now, that's fine. My drawing tool is gone. I'm back to my mouse, which is my selection tool, and it says change the shape height and shape width to be a circle, 1.5. So I have this selected on the shape format. Come down to height. Height is 1.5, enter, and width is also 1.5, enter. So we have a nice little circle there. And it says that inside of this, I need to type the word blue. Now you can double click or you can right click and add or edit text. I'm going to double click and I'm going to type the word blue. Don't have to hit enter, nothing like that, just type the word blue. I want to now affect the fill of the shape, so select the border of the shape. I want to make sure I'm not affecting the text color. And I've got shape format selected, and under these shape styles, I'm going to expand this, and I'm going to look through here, and I need moderate effect blue. And that's it. Moderate effect, dark blue, accent 6. I could kind of narrow my search this time because this was the blue column. So click on that. Now it says change the font color of the text. So for that, I'm going to double click. Actually, I think I kind of triple clicked because I want to make sure I'm selecting that text. And I want to change that text color to black. So I'm just going to go to my Home tab, and I'm going to change my text color to black background 1. I also need to increase the size of that text to 20. Like I said, many parts. You really have to keep an eye on this. And bold it. Select the container again. So I don't have the text. I'm not editing. I've got the container selected. And I'm going to go to Shape Format. And I'm going to expand my launcher if it's not already. But really what I'm trying to get to is the size and properties icon, because I'm going to set the horizontal position is going to be 3.15, enter, and the vertical position 4.5, enter. Now we see what their plan was. Their plan was to just make a blue dot that emphasizes that this is the color of Walmart, Facebook, and Ford. Very quick design note. Some people cannot discern all colors. Color blindness, you may have heard of. And so it's nice. You may say, why put blue if this container is already in blue? Because somebody may not be able to see this color as blue. So we're just going to designate that this is blue. And this is how they chose to do it in kind of a snazzy way. So we still have this object selected. And in step number 10, what they tell us is to duplicate this. Well, do you remember that Control D? There it goes. Control D duplicates that. Now with that duplicated, they said let's change the horizontal and vertical positions, because you see it put it just slightly lower. And we also, of course, need to move it. So the horizontal position is going to be 7.15, enter. And the vertical position is going to be 4.5, enter. We've moved that shape into position. Now we're going to change the text. I double clicked and I'm just typing the word red. I'm going to select the object, the placeholder container, and I'm going to come up here to my shape styles, expand that. I'm looking at the color red, and specifically I want, again, that moderate effect, red accent 1. Choose that. Now we see, once again with this shape selected, I'm going to Control D to duplicate, and PowerPoint is so smart, it already guessed where I want that located. So it really did a great job with that. Well, this takes us to step 11, and step 11 says, well, set the horizontal position to 11.15. Look at that. PowerPoint already did that. It's so smart. And then it said vertical position 4.5, and it already did that. If yours are off in any amount, just make those changes now. If for some reason PowerPoint didn't figure out the pattern for you, no problem. Just type in the horizontal and vertical position. I'm going to double click this text, and I'm going to type yellow. Now that I've gotten that typed in there, I'm going to select the placeholder. I'm going to come up here to my styles box, and they want us to get gold. It's moderate effect, but they call it gold. Well, it looks very yellow to me, but the title, the label is gold. So moderate effect, gold accent 3. Not accent 1, but accent 3. So, okay. So look at that. That's looking good. Save that. And then let's go on to step number 12, which is our last step dealing with this slide. What they want us to do is to group the shapes together. So for example, the related shapes. So if I click blue, the circle, I'm going to hold, let's say, my shift key. Remember, you can hold control. And with that shift key held down, I'm going to click this other object. What would you call this shape? It's somewhat squarish. Keep your mouse on top of one of the shapes. You need to be on top of the shape. Right click and go up to group and group. And we're going to repeat that for red and for yellow. So click red, maybe I'll do control, and then the other shape. Keeping my mouse on top of the shapes, but I have no keys held down. Right click, group, and group. Are you noticing that right clicking only does one thing? It only opens a menu. That's all it does, but it's a context menu. It's relative to whatever you right click on. So click one time on yellow, hold, what do you want to hold down? Shift or control, select the yellow squarish object, keep your mouse on top of that object, right click, group, group. Save that. Let's go back to our instructions. And that took us through steps 9, 10, 11, and 12 on to step 13. We change slides. We go to slide 5 and we're going to insert a table, 2 columns, 6 rows. The style, very interestingly, is no style. No style table grid. That's the style we're going to apply. So let's do that. We're going to go to PowerPoint, go up to slide 5. From the icons here, I'm going to click the table, insert table icon. They told us they want 2 columns and they want 6 rows. A default style that's appropriate to our theme was applied. We have the entire table container selected, which is good. But up here in our table styles, remember, we want to apply the no style. So it's this very first one, no style, no grid. Click that. So what have we really done here? We've really removed any borders or shadings. The table is still there, and these guidelines that you see of the table are visible to you so that you can see them. If I were, for example, to go into the show right now, can you see how you don't even see that table? I'm going to press escape. The reason is that sometimes we use tables to control the layout of objects. That can be controversial because it can be an accessibility problem, but that might be one reason they had all the formatting suppressed on this. Okay, so just be aware of that. So that was it. We inserted the table and we applied the no style table grid style. Save that. Let's go back to our instructions. I want to scroll down these instructions, scroll down the page so that you can see step 14. This is where we're filling in the instructions. As you can see, it's each row. I'm going to type in the first column, tab across, fill this out, tab, and just keep tabbing through until I've completed these instructions. I'm going to do that now. With the text typed into the table, I'm going to double check. Make sure your capitalization is in agreement with the instructions. Make sure your spelling is, exact so that the automatic grader does not deduct points, and save that. I will say that you can see as part of your presentation what you're doing is you're trying to explain what each of these colors represents. Now this is It's dramatic because you have this bold black background with white text, but it's going to get even more exciting. So if we go back to our instructions, we're now on step 15. And what step 15 is telling us to do is to do some formatting. We're going to make dark green the cell, dark green accent 4, the cell with the text green. And for each one of these cells, the one with red in it, the one with yellow, blue, orange, we're going to fill, or shade, it says, the table with that background. I said the table, I should have said the cell with that background. Now, as you do all these steps, don't overlook this final step, which says that then after we've done the cell shading, in other words, the background of the cell, then we're going to go to the font color, and not for all of them. For green, yellow, and orange, we're going to set the text of that to black. What we're concerned with here is the contrast, because as we have background colors, we want to make sure that the contrast is good. So let's go ahead and jump into this. I'm going to select my green cell, and I'm going to go to my shading. So to do that, let me come up here, and they wanted green accent 4. And I'm just going to keep going through these. Here's red, and I want to make sure I go to shading, red accent 1, remember yellow is gold, now notice that there is no instruction for black, and that's because the background of the slide is showing through the table. You know, in real life, I would go ahead and fill this in with black, because again, if we change the presentation later, I wouldn't want to have a presentation where I decided the background for all of this would be yellow, and then that would be shining through for this color that I'm assuming is going to be black. So I might in real life go ahead and fill that. That's not what our instructions tell us to do, so I'm going to go ahead and skip down here to orange, where they do tell us to make the shading. Oops, they say orange. Let me make sure I've got orange. Orange accent 2. Now remember, the final part is we're going to select this green text. I just double clicked the word green, and I'm going to make sure that it is, I've just used this right here, that it's black. I want to make sure I do that to yellow, and see how that improves the contrast. Since my little toolbar came up right here, I'm just going to use it. And finally orange. And again, I'll just use the toolbar because it's close here. If I click away, I start to see that that really looks good. I'm going to save that. We have one more step to do. Oh, actually 2 more steps to do on this. So let's just kind of continue on. This is step 16, and we're going to do steps 16 and 17, which still affect this table. So I'm going to select the table, and I really want to make sure I get the outline of this table. So when I click in the table, do you see how I've got the whole table selected now by clicking on the border? With this table selected, the entire object, go to Layout. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Go to Layout, and remember, focus on the table size, because there is also a cell size, but we want to look at table size. And they said that the height of the table should be 3.9. Enter. That expanded our table a little bit. I'm going to save that. But see how it's taller now? The table is 3.9 high, so it looks better. Now, the instructions, the second part of this instruction for step 16 says to center vertically the text in the first and second columns of the table. To me, that is a little strange that it didn't say center vertically all the text in the table. Because if they had said that, I would center the text by selecting the table object. This is that automatic grader, so I just want to be really certain. So I'm going to start by selecting, clicking in the word green and dragging down. In other words, I have this first column selected. With this first column selected, when I look up here in my alignment, see this button here, center vertically, click that. I'm going to repeat that process, and you can see how the text inside the cell is centered up and down. I'm going to do the same thing. Center vertically. Save that. So I did the second part of step 16, which was to center the text vertically. On step 17, they're going to have us insert a column, and the way they want us to do this will affect the formatting of the column, and so it's important that we follow these steps exactly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click anywhere inside of this word green. I'm on my layout ribbon, and across the top, notice I have these insert buttons. I want to insert a column, and I want to insert it to the right. You see how it picked up the formatting from where my insertion point was? So very important. Now I still have all of these cells, this entire column selected, and the next thing they want me to do is to merge these cells. Well, that's right up here with my insert buttons. And it kind of makes one big green cell. Not to worry, but that is the desired result. It may look a little funny now, but not to worry because we are going to insert a picture. I'm going to click and just make sure that I have this new merged cell. This is where I am. This is what's selected. And the instructions strangely don't tell us to come over to the format shape and to insert a picture. That's probably how I would do it, but I want to make sure that following these grader instructions, that I do everything step by step. They tell us to click the shading arrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the Table Design tab, and I'm going to click the shading arrow. I guess they want us to see a different way to do this. And I'm going to come down to Picture, from a file. Again, this is just a different way of doing this. And I'm going to pick Color Emotion. Insert. Oh, isn't that cool? So we created our table, we inserted the text, we filled in the background of each cell, we selected the text, and we changed the color to ensure good contrast so that people could read our text. We inserted a column right in the middle of that table. We merged all the cells only of this column, and then we used that space to insert a picture by going under Shading for that. So I have this entire column selected, and what we could assume is that if we're affecting all the cells, then that means that the column is also that width of 2.9. So let's try that. I'm going to set the column width, or the cell width, to 2.9, enter. And just to be sure, let's explore one other thing. I still have all the cells in column 1 selected. I'm on my Layout tab. Let's go over to Select. And isn't this interesting? It says select table or select row. Column is grayed out. Now what if I just click in one of those cells, the green for example? Still on Layout, go to Select, and see how column is selected? Let's check that. I clicked that, and you see how it just selected all those cells? And so now when I look up at my cell size, the width is still 2.9. So it's telling me, it's really confirming to me that we did that correctly. Let's save that. Of course, the grader will let us know. Oh, I'm sorry, we have one final step. Set the alignment of the table to align center. So I need to make sure I have the entire table selected. Let's go to Select, and let's pick Table. So I have this entire table selected, and I'm on my Layout tab. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and this may seem a little odd, this is arrange, but we only have one object selected. So what it's going to do is it's going to align center to the slide. And in this case, that's exactly what we want. So the table is selected. We're on the Layout tab, Align, Align Center. Did you see the table snap to the center? So that's a little trick. If you have multiple objects selected, it will align those particular objects. We just had the table selected and it aligned it to the slide. Save that. Now, let's go back to these instructions. That should conclude step 17. And there were multiple parts to that step. So double check me. We merged, we inserted, the image, we changed the column width, and we set the alignment of the table. So that takes us to the end of page 2. Let's go to page 3 and step 18. Step 18 deals with slide 12. That's also true for step 19, and it's also true for step 20. So we're going to look at each one of those steps, and we're just going to kind of go through and fill this out. So let's just jump in and do it. We're going to create a chart, and then we're going to start to format that chart and even animate it. So let's go back to PowerPoint. We're going to slide 12. And the first thing we need to do is insert a chart. So I've got my icon here, first row, second column, clicking that. We want the clustered column. I want to point at it, but it kind of zooms it in when I do. This is the clustered column. You should have that selected. Click OK. And remember that it's kind of like Excel is popping up through PowerPoint. And so here it is. Now I want to make this Excel little table bigger. So did you see how I got my mouse into the correct shape and then I could just press and drag to expand that? And what they're telling us is that in cell B1, we're going to type the word percentage. And I'm going to press the Enter key. Then they tell us to populate cells A2 through B5. So we're just going to focus really on these first two columns of the chart. They want me to type red. I'm tabbing 29%. Enter. Then I'm going to, and you can see my chart adjusting in the background. Blue, tab 33%. Black / gray, scale, all one word, double check your capitalization, 28%, enter. I just don't want you to lose points because of that. Yellow, tab, 13%. Now I'm going to tab again just to stay in this little area. The last part of step 18 is they want us to change the source data to be A1 through B5. So if I click, see that little handle? We had to do this in the last grader. We adjusted the charts. If I put my mouse over that little corner, it changes into a double-sided arrow, and I'm just going to try to pull and drag. If you can see the blue sizing handle, that's for this selected area, that's also a great way to change that. Okay, so do you see that I have just this red box around percentage, that my labels are selected in kind of this purpley color, and then my data is selected in this blue. Doesn't matter what cell I'm clicked in, have selected. Close that, save that, so that we make sure our chart is as it should be. Now in step 19, they tell us to make sure we have this chart selected. So again, I don't want anything inside here. And you might have noticed I had some things inside of here selected. So I want to make sure I click on the object container. I specify that each time because it is so important. With this selected, under Chart Design, click on that drop-down box. We are looking for Chart Style 5. Now, this says Style 5, but I think there's a little confusion in the instructions because it's beautiful, it's pretty, it's a black background, it's got the orange is kind of a little gradient type orange, very pretty. But let me show you a note in the instructions. It says, note, ensure that the selected style contains a silvery background, grid lines, and inside end data labels before making changes. Well, if I go back to PowerPoint, keeping that note in mind, it should be silvery, right? Well, Style 5, I struggle with this because the bars look a little silvery, but if I look at Style 4 and compare that to Style 5, one of the things that convinces me that it's actually Style 4 is the data labels. Do you see at the top of red it says 29% and at the top of blue it says 33%? Those are the data labels. So I believe there is a little typo in those instructions on step 19, and that instead of Style 5, I believe it should be Style 4. You know what's going to happen if I'm wrong. The grader will tell me and I will fix it. Okay, so let's just try this. I've clicked on Style 4. Now the next thing that they tell me is there are some components of this chart that they don't want. So we just simply need to select them and delete them. First is this title. It's redundant. We see that these are percentages. So make sure you have the container of the title selected. See the dots going around, the sizing handles? With that selected, press the delete key on your keyboard. Look how that made your chart expand. The same is true for the legend. See the legend down below. Click it, make sure that the container is selected, press the delete key on your keyboard. Finally, they don't like these grid lines in here. Well, you can pick any of these grid lines, but make sure your mouse is over it and click. Now, look at that. That was not the right click because I got to drill down a little further. I say it was not the right click. It was not the correct click because look at where my dots are. They're around the entire chart. I don't want that. I had to do that first so that then I clicked again. When I clicked again, I've got the dots. Let me demonstrate that again. See the dots on the end of my grid lines? I'm going to click away. The first click selects, well, in that case, I got kind of lucky. I had the entire object. You might have to click again, and you'll notice that that just gets the chart inside of there. Then I need to click again, but you're watching the dots to govern your click. When you click, you've got to get, you can click down here if you want, you've got to get these dots for your grid lines. Once you are certain that those grid lines are selected, hey, here's a thought. What if you did this? What if you went to Format and you used this drop-down box to select vertical value axis grid lines? That would be a very certain way to select just the grid lines. So I did that. With that selected, let's press the delete key. Now those are gone. Now that is still just a piece of the instructions in step 19. The next thing we want to do is increase the font size of the data labels to 32. So again, selecting is key. If I click any one of those data labels, just a single click, look and make sure the dots are for all of the data labels. With all of those data labels selected, I'm just simply going to go to the Home tab, and I'm going to click on this drop down, and I'm going to go to 32. Now we're going to start coloring in these bars to make their colors match. Again, this is all about colors, right? So we're going to select now the actual bar. Now I clicked on the blue bar, the one that's labeled blue, but look at my dots. All of those bars are selected. I don't want that, so I need to click again. When I clicked again, the dots are only around this blue column, and the other columns are not selected. So with this particular column selected, I'm going to come up here to Shape Fill, and I'm going to choose blue, dark blue, accent 6. Next, I'm going to click the black grayscale bar. I'm double checking that the dots are only around this one data bar and the other data bars do not have dots around them. With that, I want to again go up to my fill bucket and I want to pick black background 1. Isn't this looking so much better? It looks excellent. Finally, I'm going to select this bar that says yellow, and the dots are only around it. Shape Fill, I'm looking for gold accent 3. Save that. That was step 19. Now again, the big note on step 19 is they tell us a silvery background, which is style 4, not 5, as they say. Finally, the last instruction on this particular slide is that we're going to animate our chart, and that makes it really fun. Now, still, I have this one bar selected. I want the chart selected. With the chart selected, I'm going to go to the Animations ribbon, and they tell us to make it fly in. So here it is, one of the first ones here. Well, there it comes, but it's all as one group, and they don't want that. They want us to change the effect options so that it is sequence by elements in series. Isn't that cool? Looking good. Now we want to set the animation to start after, not on click, but to start after. Finally, we want to set the delay to 0.75. Enter. Save that, and let's go into the show just to make sure this is operating in the way that we would expect. Looks great. Hit your escape key to exit the show. That was step 20. Again, I'm saving just to make sure. Let's go back to our instructions. I'm going to scroll down because that was step 20. And let's work on the second half of this page. Now on step 21, it says go to slide 1, and we're going to type this, welcome to the power of color presentation, including that little period there, as a speaker note. So let's go to our PowerPoint. Let's go up to slide 1. Now I can see my slide. I've got this format panel. If I close that, I still cannot see the speaker notes. Well, there's a little button down here towards the bottom that says Notes. If you click that, now it might be difficult to see, but if I move my mouse arrow up, do you see that little edge there? That's a separator for the slide and the note. I'm just dragging that up and down so that you can see. I can click to add notes, and again they told us to type welcome to the power of color presentation. Save that. That was step 21. Now step 22 I'm just going to continue into because it says to check for spelling and grammar errors. So I'm still on slide 1. I'm going to come over here to review and spell check. Right away it says, wait a minute, persuasion is not spelled correctly. It suggests the correct spelling. We're going to change that. And that's it. Save that. So that was step 22. Let's go back to our instructions. We just completed step 21 and step 22. So step 23 now starts to work on slide 2. And we have a lot of animation in this. And in fact, if you start to look at the rest of this, this is all Animation, lots and lots of animation until we get down to step 26 and we start to work with transitions. And then, my friends, we are at the end at step 27. So if you would allow me to just walk you through steps 23, 24, 25, and 26. As you can see, I mean, it's just a lot of settings. And so rather than flipping back and forth to the instructions, you can just follow along with me on the screen, okay? So let's go back to PowerPoint. I'm going to click, if you're not already, make sure you're on slide 2. I'm going to click on that because I do not want that word selected. I'm just on slide 2. And this, look at this beautiful, beautiful image. Oh, it's so striking. I'm going to click it because it is just an image. And they said to duplicate it. So do you remember Control D? So when it duplicated, I do want you to notice that it's offset just a little bit. Later, we're going to drag this so that these two images are perfectly aligned, one on top of the other. But for right now, it's going to be easier for us to work with both images if we can see a little piece of that image that's behind it. But they're duplicates. With this top image selected, we're going to go to, let's see, picture format, color, and we're going to set the saturation to 0. Well, if we set it to 0, look how it just takes all the color out of that picture. Totally different. But you might anticipate we're going to go from this image to that striking, colorful image. So cool. With this image still selected, we're going to set the animation, but there's a really key part of this instruction. They're focused on the exit animation, not the entrance, but the exit. So under animations, you're looking for fade, but not this fade, because that's the entrance. It's in green, that means entrance. Click your drop down. Here you see those categories, entrance, and there's a fade. But if I look through here, here's exit. So what's going to happen is this image is going to exit with a fade animation. Do you see it preview it? That was pretty cool. Now we have a lot of things to do. I'm going to save that just because there's a lot of steps. We're going to change that animation to start, and I think it's a with previous. We're going to set the duration to 1.75, enter. Now we're going to change and work on that color image. That's the one that's in the background. I can still see a little part of that image. Let me move down here, maybe you can see better. So I'm going to click it. Now do you see how the dots, the sizing handles, are around the image in the background? Now that I have that one selected, again I'm going to animation, and again I am looking for the fade animation, but in this entrance category. So if I expand just to make this clear, see how this is in green versus exit is in red, kind of green for go, red for exit, red for stop. So this is the fade that I'm applying. Once again, we're going to change to say with previous. The duration, we're going to take a little longer for this one, 2.75. So we're going to make it come in a little more slowly, even though the other one is exiting. So we're going to have multiple things going on. Plus there's going to be a delay, and the delay is going to be 1, enter. Finally, let me make sure this is the last step, part of instruction 23. We want to make sure this, I almost see this as black and white. It's not really black and white, but I'm just going to drag this up so that it is on top of the other image. Do you see that? Save that. Are you just dying to know what this is going to look like? Me too. So let's go into the show. Ooh, ah, it's like a fireworks display. It's gorgeous. And we're not even done yet. So hit escape, because it just keeps getting better. We're going to go on to step number 24. We're still on this particular slide, slide 2. Now we're going to affect, there's actually 2 content placeholders here. Do you see that? pick this first one. Now I'm clicking on the edge of this content placeholder. So I've got selected this text box that says color has the power of persuasion. And again, we're going to apply an exit. So click on this to expand, come down here to exit, and we're going to pick this fade. Do you see a preview? We're going to set this to start with previous. We're going to set the duration to 1.75, enter. So far so good, maybe save that. Now we're going to work on this second text box. Make sure you have the container selected. Okay, now this is the use it wisely. And this we're going to apply an entrance animation to. And again, the fade. So up here on my animations tab, see fade, and it's in the green. Okay, we're going to set this to start with previous. We want the duration to be 2.75, enter. We're going to set the delay. Now it already says for me delay of 1, so that's correct. I'm just making sure that I still have I didn't accidentally get to the other container, so I'm making sure. Yep, delay is set at 1. Now we're going to make some adjustments, so we're going to open the animation pane, and what we want to have happen is we want this title 1, which is exiting, we want to move that up. So you can just click this and drag it up, or you can click it and use this up arrow. However you get it, so the picture exits first, then the title exits, although they're happening with previous, so they're really going to happen together. And also with previous is the other picture is going to come in, and the other text box is going to come in. Now I'm looking at those instructions because it's a lot, and I'm hoping I didn't miss any steps. If I did, I will note it on the video. Save that. I'm going to go into the show. Was that not just cool? I'm captivated by the picture, so you almost have to look at it again. I hit exit to escape, or escape to exit the show, back into the show, look at the text. Oh, doesn't that just underscore, like, this is wise use of these beautiful colors? I love it. I hit escape to exit the show and return to the slide deck. I'm saving that. And let's see, that was a lot of steps. That was step 24. I told you I'm just going to keep walking you through this. So the next thing we're going to do is step 25, and that's to add slide numbers to all the slides except the first slide. So we're inserting here, so I'm going to click on insert. I'm going to go all the way down here to slide numbers. Now I have to make sure I say I want to add slide numbers, even though that was the button that I clicked. There's so many options. So click to select slide numbers and don't show on the title. And they did say to apply that to all. So now we're on slide 2. Do you see the little 2 pop up here? Depending on the slide layout that you have selected, that page number can display in different places. I do want to double check on slide 1 that I do not see a slide number, and I don't. But if I were to start the show, there's slide 1. Here's slide 2 with that gorgeous change. Slide 3, there's my video, and I've got the number. There we go. Okay, and I've got my numbers. Now I'm going to hit escape, and let's just kind of continue back to the instructions. I'll go ahead and show you again these instructions. We just finished step 25. Now we're on our final step, except for submitting, step 26, which is this morph transition. So listen to what they're telling us to do. We're going to do the morph transition to almost all the slides. Not number 1, but 2 through 13. We're going to tell those slides to morph. Then we're going to change how it morphs. We're going to change the effect options to characters. And then finally, we're going to affect the transition to slide 14. So let's go back to our presentation. In this thumbnails area, click on slide 2. I am going to have slide 2 selected, I'm scrolling, and I'm going to hold my shift key down and click slide 13. Did you see what happened? All of those slides are selected. If you would prefer, you can switch to the slide sorter view. Sometimes that's easier for folks. With all of those slides selected, go to Transitions and choose Morph. Now remember, that may not look exciting because we're not quite done yet. We need to change the effect options to characters. Remember that effect? That's kind of cool. And then we have one more slide. Click on slide 14. Now already questions to me looks pretty exciting, but we're going to change the transition to vortex. I don't see it in this quick list. I'm going to click the drop down, and it's one of our exciting transitions. And if I look across, I love the glitter and all this. There's so many vortex. That preview is fantastic. Now I'm going to save this. And yes, we do need to submit it, but don't you want to see the show? I know you do. Let's run through it real quick. I'm going to slide 1. I hope you will do this also because you deserve to see how cool your work is. Every time I click, that's going to advance a slide. So powerful. I mean, just beautiful. Click again. If somebody says, and this always happens, but wait, I need you to go back. I've seen people kind of go through a lot of steps where they right click and they use go back, go to previous. Isn't this distracting though to do all this menu stuff? So don't do that. Instead, if you'll just press the backspace key on your keyboard, it will take you back. Another thing that you can do to advance rather than clicking on the slide, press the Enter key. Enter. Isn't that, I mean, the graphics are great here, but the work that we did, that table is not just that picture. It's the fact that you removed all the styling and then you added your own. These are the slides we imported, and notice that they're brighter. They don't have that black background from our other slides. And because they don't, because it's different, it really pops to us, doesn't it? Great graphics. Love it. Now I'm not touching anything. This part is happening without any clicks, so there's no distraction. Isn't that nice the way that data came in? You could focus on it. And see how you're really emphasizing the colors just by adding a dot like this? Oh, and it just explodes out. You feel like you're enveloped in colors. Wonderful. Hit escape. That ends my presentation. I'm going to close. Did we save this? Save. Close. Well, as soon as it saves, close. What's the last step? I need to submit this. I'm even going to close the instructions. I'm going to close my dialog box, and you know what to do. We're going to go to myitlab.com and we're going to submit. So let me log in and I'll restart the video. As we get ready to submit the grader portion of our capstone, I want to again give you this cautionary note. You're not done when you submit the grader. Yes, you have to get a 70% or above. That opens the quiz, and then you have to remember to complete the quiz, which you should have no problem doing after you've completed the grader portion of the work. So this is just a reminder of that. So I am here in myitlab.com. My last folder, our last folder, is the PowerPoint capstone. I do want to make a note for students to make sure that you also check with pause. You may have your SLO test due at this point, and the instructions for that are in the course management system, pause. I know we've done a lot of work together in the myitlab.com system, but pause is important, and so you need to go back to pause and make sure you're not overlooking points such as the SLO test. So don't forget. So here we are in the Capstone, PowerPoint Capstone Grader, and it looks like just one assignment, but it says there's two parts. So when I click on this, see the two parts? And a common email that I've got, because I've used this type of assignment over many semesters, years, is I can't get to the quiz, I can't get to the quiz. Well, not until you submit that grader and you get a 70% or above. So fingers crossed. That was a lot of steps. Fingers crossed. Let's open this grader portion of the capstone. And this is what's going to get you right here, folks, is that we've changed tabs and you're going to forget about that quiz. So don't forget about that quiz. Here we are. We've already downloaded and all. We're going to choose our file. Don't forget to navigate, not PowerPoint 4. Let's go get our capstone. Make sure you submit the correct one, not color. And it's so distracting because I see the PowerPoint symbol. So make sure that you are submitting the capstone file. Very, very important. Open, upload, and what are you waiting for? Not 100%. Yes, you need 100%. You need success to display up here. 100% is not enough. You must see the success. It's taking a minute. There we go. There we go. Submit for grading. Do we need a drum roll? It's pending. So while I wait, I'm probably going to go to view the submission. Oops, I thought it updated. But I cannot forget that once I get that grade, I got to come back here and take that quiz. Okay? Going into the submission to see. 99. Oh, that is salt in the wound. 99%. I'm going to click that. That is so close. What did I mess up? Something on slide 5 with my table. My table style was not set to no style table grid. I know that we did that, so I'm probably going to report this to the publisher to make sure they investigate that. I vividly remember talking about that. So I'm not going to spend time on this video correcting that because I think you did see. Perhaps the cautionary note you would take away from this is to go back and check that. But the problem is we set a lot of colors in that table. And so if you now go, you might wipe out all your work on the colors. So I'm going to let the publisher know. That's what I'm going to say about that. I'm going to let the publisher know. Did I miss anything else? That was the one point. I think that was it. I'm giving myself 100. I'm giving myself 100 because I think this is, again, I'm really working ahead in this book, and so that's going to help you have a smoother experience. Now, I would be tempted right now to pat myself on the back and say I'm done. And if I did, I would lose points because I haven't done the quiz. Can I say that enough times? I haven't done the quiz. And do you see how easy it would be to get lost at this point and forget about that quiz? Don't forget about the quiz. Okay, I click that little X, that takes me back to the assignment. Now what you have to have in order for this quiz to darken up so that you can click on it, you have to have a status of passed right here. I'm really happy with my 99% that I'm going to call 100%. I'm really happy with that. And now what I would do is I would click to open this quiz. I'm not going to do the quiz with you. These quizzes are not bad. What I would also emphasize to you is if you do make mistakes, like I do and you've seen, go back and fix them. If you don't get a perfect score on the quiz the first time, try it again. Look up the answers that you missed. It is easy to misunderstand and misinterpret an instruction. So don't settle for that in your learning. Reach for the best in your excellence, and you can do that. Folks, I have so enjoyed this, and I hope you have too. And I've especially enjoyed this last assignment together with you. I hope you've had an excellent term. I hope you've had an excellent semester, not just in my class, certainly in my class, but with your college experience this semester. Learning can be challenging. We all get frustrated as we go through things, but I appreciate the respect, the attention, the commitment, and the dedication that you have shown. So thank you very much, folks.